Good morning. I am DAA of DHB, which stands for Devotion, Health, and Beauty Recovery Network. We all experience loss on so many levels. Together, as we grieve one day at a time on this weekly podcast, let's walk and share our experiences as we heal. And I was told when mourning and grieving takes place, it's because the person that had passed was very much loved by you. Fair use. Grief one day at a time. 365 Meditations to Help You Heal After Loss by Alan D. Wolfett. March 18th. The first time someone shows you who they are, believe them. Maya Angelou. Not everyone is cut out to be a good friend in grief. You've probably learned this already. People you would have expected to support you fall out of touch, while others you never imagined would support you do. One way to respond in the face of faltering friendships is to be proactive and honest. Even though we're the ones who are grieving, we may need to be the ones to phone our friends and keep in touch. When we do speak, let's be honest. Let's tell our friends how we really and truly feel and that we appreciate their support. When we find that certain friends can't handle our grief talk, we can stick to lighter topics with them and lean more heavily on the friends who can support us in our grief. Some friends will fall away permanently, others will step away for a time, then return. That is life. We are all fluid beings who never stop becoming. Knowing this, we can respond with grace. The meditation reads, no matter how others respond to my grief, I can offer them my namaste. The divine in me honors the divine in you. March 19th. Grief is the last act of love we have to give to those we loved. Where there is deep grief, there was great love. Author unknown. Grief is the flip side of love. When those we love leave us behind, we go on loving. But now the love is made bittersweet by the fact that they are no longer physically here to receive it. What if we think of our grief as an act of love? After all, that's really what it is. Does that change how we feel about it? If we loved greatly, we will grieve deeply. That's the equation. Let's honor our special people who have died with grief and mourning that is as wide and as deep as our love for them still is. The meditation reads, I loved greatly, and now I grieve deeply. My grief is an act of love. At the beginning of this podcast, that is what I had mentioned, and I did not read this ahead of time. So it was absolutely meant to be said and said again. March 20th. I may try to protect myself from my sadness by not talking about my loss. I may even secretly hope that the person who died will come back if I don't talk about it. Yet, as difficult as it is, I must feel it to heal it. Alan Wolfett. Death is often the elephant in the room. It's big, it's there, hulking in the corner, but we go on blithely with our lives, pretending it's not. We do this because our culture isn't good at embracing death, loss, and grief as natural parts of life. And so we all pretend. We look away. We stick our fingers in our ears, close our eyes, and refuse to listen and look. Even when our own lives are impacted by significant death, we sometimes still go on pretending to others and sometimes even to ourselves. But life is so much fuller and richer and more genuine when we embrace the elephant. He is such an essential part of human life. We should talk about him just as openly and often as we talk about the good things. We should befriend the feelings he evokes in us. It is this very honesty that allows us to begin to heal. The meditation reads, I must acknowledge my grief and I must feel it to heal it. March 21. Despite the forecast, live like it's spring. Lily Pulitzer. Depending on the day and our moods, the forecast can seem to call for nonstop cold and wet when we are grieving. The paradox is that we can learn both to inhabit the dreary days and expect spring at the same time. In other words, we can embrace the pain and darkness of our grief when that is what we are feeling, while also nurturing hope that sunshine and flower blossoms are on the way. Healing in grief is a lot like the onset of spring. It's unreliable and fickle. One day it's warmish and blue skies, and we think, hey, we're feeling better. Then the next day or week it's sleeting and gray again. But ever so slowly, we advance into better weather. We can't rush it. We can't control it. We can't skip the dismal days, but we can trust that spring and then summer will come. The meditation reads, no matter how I'm feeling today, I will trust that better days are ahead. March 22nd, and also my birthday. Many of us spend our whole lives running from feeling with the mistaken belief that you cannot bear the pain, but you have already borne the pain. What you have not done is feel all you are beyond that pain. Khalil Gibran. We're bearing our pain. Even though some days it feels unbearable, we somehow make it through. Here we are. So let's not run away from our feelings. We can bear them. We are bearing them. But there's a difference between coping and embracing. If we're coping, we're just getting by. If we're embracing, we're turning toward our grief and befriending it. We're welcoming it with open arms. Embracing the truth of everything we are thinking and feeling, and then expressing that truth is the most transformative way to move beyond the pain. We can cope or we can embrace. We can just get by or we can go all in. We can survive or we can thrive. The meditation reads, I choose to embrace and express my pain in order to feel all I am beyond my pain. March 23rd. But grief makes a monster out of us sometimes, and sometimes you say and do things to the people you love that you can't forgive yourself for. Melina Marchita. Sometimes mourning has bad manners. We feel rage, we place blame, we yell, we snap, we speak harshly, we can be unkind. Yet anger, hate, blame, terror, resentment, rage, and jealousy are normal and often necessary parts of our grief journeys. These feelings are essentially a form of protest. Think of the toddler whose favorite toy is yanked out of his hands. When it's taken, his instinctive reaction may be to scream or cry or hit. When someone loved is taken from us, our instinctive reaction may be much the same. If our explosive emotions hurt others, we can apologize. We can also explain that our grief sometimes makes us behave badly. Sharing this truth will foster forgiveness and healing. The meditation reads, when grief makes a monster out of me, I will try to find constructive ways to express my explosive emotions. March 24th. We learn, grow, and become compassionate and generous as much through exile as homecoming, as much through loss as gain. David White. I'd like to talk a little about the idea of exile today. To be exiled usually means to be forced away to a distant place. Our grief certainly exiles us from the life we were living. It sends us away to a new and harsh land where nothing quite makes sense and life is lonely and hard. So there is that sense of exile and grief, but there is also another more healing way to think about it. When we retreat to a place of spiritual contemplation and beauty, we are also going to exile. The word contemplate means to create space for the divine to enter. So if we exile ourselves to a special place, as simple as a quiet room we love, as plain as a park or a path in the forest, as far removed as a visit to a monastery or other spiritual destination, we are opening our hearts, minds, and souls to contemplation. We are creating space for the divine to enter. When we are feeling the dissonance between our grief and the busyness of our daily lives, let's remember to take ourselves to exile. It is there that we can nurture ourselves, be with our grief, and do our sacred work of mourning. The meditation reads, I will find ways to go to exile. I have come across other readings regarding grief. There are so many that I have received on Amazon and also from others. If you have some good grief literature that you would like to share on this podcast, please do. Please add it to the comment section. Recovery Network is a growing and thriving entity. Please like, share, and subscribe, and may DHB Recovery Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. And most of all, be the you that you are created to be. And remember that you are not alone. DHB Recovery Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. And most of all, be the you that you are created to be. And remember that you are not alone.